ESPN Kansas City is KCTE Independence and K233DM Raytown, 1510 AM, 94.5 FM.
Sports is the one thing this guy is truly passionate about. So passionate that sometimes we just have to put this sports nut on a leash.
Listen, my thoughts here with Barry Brown is I don't think he did it to piss off the fans of Kansas. I don't think he did it to piss off Bill Self and the basketball team. I think he had that memory in his mind that, oh, Brandon Green, this jerk off, he dunked on my team, and well, we haven't had our moment of beating Kansas in my 4 years, so here's my moment. I'm going to have it. Let me have it, and I'm going to do this. But you know what? Here's my next thing. You as Kansas or any opposing team that's playing the team that's already beaten you, if you don't want that to happen, and then you'll stop them. Stop their rear end. If you don't want someone dunking on you, don't make a point. Stop them.
It's time for Radioactive Sports with Justin Pemberton on ESPN Kansas City. Tune in every Saturday morning as Justin gives his fascinating opinions and thoughts on the most interesting topics in sports, right here in Kansas City. Now the host himself, Justin Pemberton.
Coming to you live in the ESPN Kansas City control room. Good Saturday morning. And, of course, for those who are on Facebook, we're coming to you live as well on Facebook Live. This is Radioactive Sports on ESPN Kansas City. Good Saturday morning. I'm Justin Pemberton, the host of the show. As always, from every Saturday morning from 6 to 7 a.m. on 1510 a.m. and 94.5 FM. And just thank you for those who are tuning in on Facebook Live. Hello. You guys can see me there on my Facebook there. Hey, just to pass along some very exciting news about the show here. Before I get on with the rundown for the show this morning, and we get started with the monologue, Radioactive Sports is now officially on iTunes. I am so thrilled about that. I can't begin to say how excited I am about that. And, of course, it's now officially on YouTube as well. I was able to finally get that going after some issues these last couple of days, working on last week's show, putting that on YouTube so you guys can check that out. Not a whole lot of viewers so far on that, but that's okay. It's no big deal. But really excited about some of the new things going on with my show. Besides of it still being on this station and being on Facebook and on Twitter. And for those who are on Twitter, follow me at JPSports1510 if you want to check out the show. But lots to get to on the Saturday morning in the rundown. Let's get started with that. In the second segment, of course, I was just explaining this to all those viewers who are checking this out on Facebook. Coming up in the second, we're going to do the I'm going to tell you what segment, talking about Kareem Hunt having a new team, a new gig. This makes no sense. I think the team he went to makes no sense because there are a few issues with that. I'll explain that here coming up, and I'm going to tell you what. And then in the He Did What segment, I will talk about John Elway for the second time in many weeks. It seems like. A few weeks ago, it was, I forget now what it was about a few weeks ago, but today it's going to be based off him trading for Joe Flacco, and I'll give my thoughts on that, how it could backfire on the Broncos and how it could backfire on the rest of the AFC West possibly. I know a lot of people around here are very excited about that because the fact that Joe Flacco is getting older and that he's been terrible since his run at the Super Bowl with the Baltimore Ravens back in 2012. And I can really understand that. I totally get that. But I got some other thoughts about Joe Flacco, how it could help out the Broncos. It depends on their defense, basically. But then we're going to wrap up the show talking about Kyler Murray and if he made the right decision of going to the NFL over pursuing a career in Major League Baseball. So that's coming up. But we're going to start out, though, this morning in the monologue talking about the Kansas Jayhawks and talk about Bill Self. So let's get started once again. Thank you for tuning in on 1510 AM, 94.5 FM, or on 1510.com, the TuneIn app, and, of course, Facebook Live if you're checking that out right now. Don't worry. If you do miss the Facebook Live, you can see that later on my Facebook page. I'll post that for sure. I am doing this for other reasons this morning because I like to possibly maybe use this in my next YouTube video for my for this show that I'm getting ready to work on here later today and post hopefully in a day or so on YouTube. So let's get started talking about the Kansas Jayhawks, and it's a no-brainer. Bill Self is the MVP of the Big 12 right now, and he's the MVP of the Jayhawks. And look, I don't want to hear any of this stuff that, coaches don't suit up, they don't play. See, I hear that enough from elsewhere. I don't want to hear that. I mean, you can honestly tell me that because I already know that. Like that's obvious. I know the coaches don't suit up, and you know what? Once upon a time, Bill Self actually did suit up. He did play, so he knows a thing or two about the game of basketball because he played. He played college ball at OSU, and I'm referring to Oklahoma State, not the Ohio State. Let me just say Ohio State, not the Ohio State. I hate when people say that. Just say Ohio State, for crying out loud. It's not the Ohio State University. No, but anyway, so Bill Self, he knows a thing or two about the game of basketball. It is unbelievable of how Bill Self has kept this team, up where it's at. It's amazing how this team hasn't fallen further than it has. It is amazing. I mean, did none of you watch that game the other night against TCU? KU, I thought they were going to cruise, they were going to win, and it was going to be really surprising. But then yet, not really. Then TCU makes this unbelievable run. It was like 20-6 runs, something like that. And I had just gotten through criticizing the heck out of TCU and Jamie Dixon on Twitter. I had just got through saying that TCU, their IQ all night has been so horrific on offense, and it was. I had probably have never seen such dumber offense run by a basketball team than TCU. It was pathetic the way they were playing. And then TCU goes on this run. 20-6, something like that, 20-4. It was unbelievable. And they take a 4-point lead with under a minute to go in the ball game. And you're thinking, KU is going to be 1-7 on the road. But Bill Self knows which buttons to push. He knows what to do. And this is where I'm going to come back to a question I asked about 2 weeks ago, maybe on a show 2 weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks ago? Might have been 3 weeks ago, something like that. But I remember asking a question. Who is right below Bill Self in this conference? Like, what other coach in this conference would you feel comfortable or is like right there toe-to-toe with Bill Self? And the only coach I could think of at the time was Lon Kruger because of his longevity of what he's done. And Bob Huggins, of course. There's not many to go around. And look, Jamie Dixon is a fine coach, but he's not a great coach. But you know what? Right now, I have to say Bruce Weber is right there because look at the job he did the other night against Texas. Look at that job, what he did. It was incredible. It's like he knew what to do as well. And normally we criticize the guy for not knowing what to do. Right? Like, Bruce Weber gets criticized most of the time for not knowing how to recruit players, and then not really knowing what to do in certain situations. But, man, I mean, Bill Self, I have to kind of repeat the same phrase or words that Kevin Keatsman did on his monologue. I think it was on Monday early this week on Between the Lines on A10, our sister station. He was saying he's the best two-minute coach ever. You have to dig a little deeper on that possibly. But as of right now, and maybe in the last 10 years possibly, maybe longer than 10 years, yeah, I have to say without a doubt that Bill Self is the best two-minute coach because he knows what to do. He knows when to call a timeout. He knows when to draw up this play or do this, do that. Like he is so amazing. So you want a real reason why Kansas is still in this race? It's Bill Self. It is by far Bill Self. It is not the players. Because this is the most or the least amount of talent. Well, okay, I can't say Kansas is not talented. They are talented. But as far as, I guess, this is the least amount of experience that Bill Self's had in quite some time. Probably going back to when it was 05, 06 with Mario Chalmers and Arthur and Rush and all those guys. When they were all freshmen, they were inexperienced, they were young, but look how that developed. There is still time. I know we're getting closer and closer to March Madness, and we're getting closer to the Big 12 tournament and all that. I'm aware, but they've got Bill Self's the best coach in America. Okay. Enough with the John Calipari and Mike Krzyzewski, Coach K, Roy Williams, or whoever else. No, not comparable. Bill Self's the best coach in America, hands down. Let's be fair and honest here. Let's wake up. Let's really realize who we're talking about, and let's realize what the reality is. Bill Self is the best coach in America. It's not even close. He's the best two-minute coach in America. He is the reason why KU is in this position. Let's quickly play a soundbite of Bill Self. Speaking of Bill Self, let's quickly play a soundbite of the head coach of the Jayhawks his reaction after their dramatic win and a very much needed win on the road the other night on Big Monday at TCU.
Yeah, that was we couldn't screw the game up more. You know, we were I told the guys we were up like 8 with 16 left in the second half. We could have been up 15. I mean, missed layups and we did such a good job getting the ball in tight early and just screw it up and then we played really well and got up about 12 with what was about 6 left?
9.
With 9 left. And then just I mean, that's as bad as you can play there for about 3 minutes. I mean, just awful. And miss every free throw, miss every opportunity, and turn it over, and I mean, not get back off a missed free throw. I mean, unbelievable. And then we screwed it up, and then we really did a great job to basically, unscrew the game. To be honest with you, I mean, KJ made the unbelievable play to put it in overtime. We got the stop on the last play, and then KJ made a huge shot, probably I think as big a shot as there was in overtime, and then those 2 freshmen were just incredible. I mean, Ochai and Devon. But hopefully we're becoming a team. Our energy was good, our enthusiasm, our attitudes were good. Guys fought pretty hard and somehow pulled it out. Give them all the credit. They played so well for about 35 minutes and then played poor the last 5 and then played a great overtime.
Can I be fair and honest with that? I think that's Bill Self saying, I did a good job. Look, I know the players are the ones that make the shots and everything, but people, I mean, this is Bill Self pushing the right buttons. He's the one guiding the ship in crucial times. This is unbelievable. This, out of all the, and he's had many, many, many great teams. Many. Including, not to be forgotten, the 07-08 team that won the national championship and has the best record of any KU team of all time. But this might be his best coaching job. This might be his best coaching job that he's done throughout maybe his whole career. And he's had, again, many, many great teams. Many. But, I mean, are you kidding me? When do you think they're dead in the water? No. No. I know some of the outside people, well, look at what Duke did the other night. Yeah. It's not as impressive as KU. I'm sorry. Because, Duke cheats. First of all, they cheat. They get everything their way. I'm sorry. I'm a Duke disliker. I don't like Duke. Louisville choked. Let's be honest in that game. They, being up 23, and they should have won the game. Louisville, they got a new coach and all that. It's whatever. But Bill Self is the best coach in America. Until proven otherwise. And he's the reason why KU is where they are. And look, I know the players are getting better, but people, this is not a joke here. I mean, Bill Self is the reason. He's the MVP of the Big 12. He is the MVP of the Jayhawks. And he's the reason why they're in this position. And I think all the pressure is on Kansas State. Because they're in this position where they haven't been in quite some time. I mean, other than 2013 or 2012, 2013 season, the last time they won an outright was 1977. All the pressure's on Kansas State. It's not on Kansas. Kansas, they feel like they can still win this thing. And I think they can too. Iowa State's got a shot. K-State's got a shot. Texas Tech's got a shot. I mean, it's not over yet. This conference race is pretty fun, people. This is actually a real conference race. But I'm still expecting the same ending. I'm still expecting it. I'm still waiting for it. And like what I've said before, for those who have heard me use this analogy, for all of us people that grew up in, my generation, the 90s, Mario Kart. It's like Mario Kart. All these teams are waiting to fire their red shells at Kansas. And then, KU may get hit once in a while by a red shell on a certain track. But then everybody else gets that same return. They get hit by the red shell or blue shell or whatever. And KU still finds a way to win the race. I'm still waiting for that to happen. So we'll see what happens, but just an incredible job by Bill Self. I can't say enough about it. And I'm not being a Kansas homer. I'm not. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing, what the reality is. And the reality is Bill Self is the best coach in America, hands down. And he is the best 2-minute coach in America. Nobody else can compare. Nobody. It's not even comparable. You can't give me names. I'm sorry, Coach K. I'm sorry, Calipari. No. Roy. No. No. There's no other coach right now that could even make a case. Not even close. All right, so we're kind of running out of time here for this opening segment. Let's take the first break. We need to. We're kind of overdue here for the first break this morning. So let's get going here. We'll take a break here. When we come right back here on Radio Active Sports, we'll start the I'm going to tell you what segment. We'll talk about Kareem Hunt. He's back, people. But for how long? And his new team, where he's at, and is it the right move? We'll find out. We'll see. So much more to get to on this Saturday morning. You are listening to Radio Active Sports on ESPN Kansas City. This is 1510 AM, 94.5 FM. I'm Justin Parrington. Much more coming up after this.
Radio Active Sports with Justin Pemberton. Every Saturday morning from 6 to 7 on ESPN Kansas City. You're listening to Radioactive Sports with Justin Pemberton.
By the way, things you need to know on the game, which I just found these stats just amazing. Kareem Hunt with the most all-purpose yards by a rookie in one game in NFL history. 246.
One of my 3 fantasy teams. Thanks you, Kareem.
Oh, shoot. Did you even...
Not in our league.
Did you start Kareem?
In my family league, I had him. Oh, that's a nice 40 points there.
You know what? I forgot to start him in one of my leagues.
Way to go, Justin!
Yeah, I know.
Way to go.
This is your show, and it's already off the rails.
All because of stinking NFL Network. I watched this one expert, this one guy says, "Oh, this is a bad matchup. You should start Kareem Hunt."
You know what the crazy thing is? I had Gillisley on my bench.
Oh.
And I said,
he had like
because I started David Johnson. I'm sorry.
And he had all 3 touchdowns for the Patriots
on ESPN Kansas City. This is a segment where statements are made and full of plenty of opinions on the widest range of topics in sports. Radioactive Sports on ESPN Kansas City now presents
I'm going to tell you what.
On Radioactive Sports with Justin Pemberton on ESPN Kansas City.
Welcome back to Radioactive Sports on ESPN Kansas City. And of course, we're still here on Facebook Live. Just for those who are checking that out, instead of feeling like turning on the radio, onto either 1510 AM or 94.5 FM. But we're getting ready to do the I'm going to tell you what segment, talking about Kareem Hunt. This ought to be interesting. So here we go.
I'm going to tell you what.
I'm going to tell you what. I think it's good for people to have a second chance in life. But this right here with Kareem Hunt, this is a head scratcher. I don't really support this. At least not. It's not him. I think he deserves the opportunity. It's where he went. It's the team. The Cleveland Browns signed Kareem Hunt this week to just a 1-year deal. But I see at least 3 things wrong with this. And the first, my first wrong point is he's going back to his home state where the incident happened. Because he was at that hotel in Cleveland, Ohio, where the incident happened. It's not good to go back to where you had your issue. Second, he's on the commissioner's exempt list still. He has to be cleared to be able to play. Like, this is no guaranteed deal. This is no guaranteed thing where he's going to be able to play. And I think that's where that makes no sense. But third, my third problem is the Cleveland Browns already have a young running back and not Bradley Chubb, but Nick Chubb. There we go. Bradley Chubb. That's that linebacker for the Broncos. But no, Nick Chubb, who's a young stud, came from Georgia. Like, they used a draft pick on him. Like, why wouldn't he be the future running back for the Cleveland Browns? That's where I don't really get this signing. Plus, you're putting your job on the line if you're John Dorsey, the ex-chief GM, by the way. You're putting yourself on the line. Your career, your job. This is a big, risky move by John Dorsey. A bold move. Bold. In all caps. Like, bold. Like, I support Kareem Hunt having a second chance. This is not based on him. I think he deserves a second chance to be forgiven. I think he deserves an opportunity to play. It's where. That's my issue with this whole thing. If it was coming back here to play for the Chiefs, I would have no problem with it. Because, of course, he'd be coming back here to our hometown team where he was. And I think there's no better place because Andy Reid is so good at handling players with issues. Remember Michael Vick? How did that work out? He won Comeback Player of the Year, and he was never that guy that hurt dogs. He was a different person, a better person. Andy Reid is good with that. He's handled so many players with baggage and with issues. And plus, the Chiefs knew that Kareem Hunt had issues. They knew. So this is a slight miss on the Chiefs for not bringing him back. But see, I'm okay with the Chiefs not bringing back Kareem Hunt. Because this is another opportunity to go find that next guy. Plus, they did sign Williams to that contract, which was good. But no, I have problems with Kareem Hunt going to the Browns. This makes absolutely no sense. Because again, he's on the exempt list. Is he going to play? It'll be a waste for not only Kareem Hunt himself, but it would be a waste for the Cleveland Browns to have him sit 1 year on the bench. Well, I guess it wouldn't be a waste for Kareem Hunt because he'd be getting paid anyway. They're paying him $1 million for the whole year. $1 million. They're paying him regardless, I think. This is no stoppage. Oh, just because you're on the exempt list, we're not paying you. No, they're paying the guy. This is a guaranteed deal. They're gonna pay Kareem Hunt $1 million. So this makes no sense. And again, you've got a running back. You've drafted a running back. You wasted, and I'm going to say wasted because at this point, Nick Chubb hasn't had his chance, and I think he should have his chance. This kid was a stud in college. And look, I know it's college. College is different than pros. Nick Chubb was the backup to Todd Gurley at Georgia. I get it. And Todd Gurley is, well, Todd Gurley, as we know now, an MVP candidate and a stud running back for the LA Rams. I get it. But still, you've got a guy. Use him. This is why the Cleveland Browns haven't been anything in forever. Like, can you name the last head coach? Can you name the last head coach for anybody out there that's a sports guru that loves trivia? Can you name the last coach to lead the Cleveland Browns to a playoff victory? Like, seriously, can you name that coach? I'll just tell you, it's Bill Belichick. On this day, it was yesterday. It was on that day 23 years ago. He got canned by the Browns. Yes, he's the last coach to lead the Browns to a playoff win. And it's really interesting. Guess who that team was that he beat? The Patriots. Small world, huh? Isn't it just amazing how we can find out all these things and we're just so amazed by it? Bill Belichick beat the Patriots as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. Last playoff win. Of course, that was the old Browns before they moved to Baltimore, thanks to Art Modell, the late Art Modell. Probably the most hated person in Cleveland sports history, and probably still pretty hated today in that city. But no, I mean, this move, I don't get it, people. I don't understand what certain people are thinking in the sports industry. Certain people at their position, like a GM, I don't know what they're thinking sometimes. And John Dorsey strikes me as this loosey-goosey guy that just runs with his head cut off sometimes. John Dorsey's not a smart dude sometimes, I don't think. I'm sorry. I mean, he's not here anymore in Kansas City, so I feel like I have the free speech and the freedom to say that. You know, I'm not trying to sound mean here, but I mean, it's a risky move. It is a risky move by John Dorsey, and it makes no sense to me, and I'm not a fan of it. I wish nothing but the best luck to Kareem Hunt, and again, it's not about him. This is nothing. I'm not striking on Kareem Hunt here. I'm striking against the Cleveland Browns for making this decision, for this move. It makes no sense. Come back here. Coming back to the Chiefs makes more sense than anything because this is the team he was with. Andy Reid knows him. Brett Veach knows him. We know him. He was one of our own. This is where it makes sense. I don't care if he's from Cleveland, Ohio. I don't care. And then speak that again. The incident where that happened, that's never good. But you know what? Let's see what he does. I think he's going to change for the better. I think he's going to get the help that he needs, and he's going to do better. But for the Cleveland Browns to do this is bold. It is crazy. It is crazy. It's really crazy that Kareem Hunt is now a Cleveland Brown. So let's take the break here, or the next break here on this Saturday morning. When we come right back here on Radio Active Sports, we'll do the He Did What segment. We'll talk about John Elway making potentially a sneaky good move, or is it possibly another blunder in the ongoing saga of him being the football operations and GM of the Denver Broncos? So much more coming your way after this on ESPN Kansas City. I am Justin Pemberton. Much more here on 1510 AM, 94.5 FM. Coming up, and you are listening to Radio Active Sports.
Dedicated, passionate, and not afraid to speak his mind. You're listening to Radioactive Sports with Justin Pemberton on ESPN Kansas City 94.5 FM. You're listening to Radioactive Sports with Justin Pemberton.
I've been saying that I think John Elway sitting in the booth, he'll probably be watching Mahomes and he'll be going, yeah, he's pretty good, but, it's the Chiefs. I've seen better. He probably could be saying that. Not in that tone, but, I mean, it's John Elway.
On ESPN Kansas City. You may have heard of one famous line from a Monday Night Football game from Al Michaels. But what if I told you it was about to become a segment on a sports radio show here in Kansas City? It's time for
He Did What?
On Radioactive Sports with Justin Pemberton on ESPN Kansas City.
This intro never gets old. I just love it. Well, welcome back to Radioactive Sports here on ESPN Kansas City, and you're listening to 1510 AM and 94.5 FM. Get ready to do He Did What? You're on there Saturday morning. I just love this intro. It's just awesome. I'll have to keep playing. But we're going to talk about John Elway now as, look, I know everybody's really on board with this trade here in Kansas City because, well, the Broncos suck in our minds here in Kansas City, and we don't like the Broncos. And I don't either. But you know what? We can't, we don't know until actual games start playing of how good Joe Flacco could be in a Broncos uniform. We can speculate all we want that Joe Flacco could be a dud, could be a one-and-done guy or whatever. We could speculate all we want and say that Joe Flacco is a total bust for the Denver Broncos. If you guys haven't heard yet, this week Joe Flacco was dealt to the Denver Broncos from the Baltimore Ravens.
He did what?
That's right. John Elway, bold move.
He did what?
Making the move for Joe Flacco. 34 years old. Hasn't been the same type of quarterback since his run to the Super Bowl in 2012. Unbelievable. Everybody around here is thinking the Broncos are going to be terrible with this, and they probably got worse at quarterback. I'm not going towards that just yet. I am actually having the feeling that the Broncos could actually get back to somewhat of the level when they won the Super Bowl. And then now, just hear me out. I know this sounds crazy. But just hear me out. Okay? What was the calling card of that Super Bowl run with an aging Peyton Manning that was broken down and really had no more gas left in the tank? What was the key to that run? Defense. That defense was amazing. And yes, they were younger back then. We're talking about 4 years ago. I know. And the defense is getting older, and they just lost Brandon Marshall to free agency, the linebacker who walked down the Broncos. He's a free agent now. Shane Ray's a free agent. There's no more Aqib Talib. You know, this isn't the same. So I get it. But if the Broncos, with a new head coach, a defensive-minded guy, and Nick Fangio, if they can get back to that kind of that mindset where the defense is the strength and they're actually a lot better than what they were this year, and Joe Flacco can do just enough, and yeah, the offense has really broken down in recent years. There's no longer Denarius Thomas. There's Phillip Lindsay's a really solid running back. That rookie from last year out of Colorado had a nice rookie year. We'll see if he hits a sophomore slump type of wall. We'll see about that. But if they can get back to that, and then you know what? The Broncos could be right back to being 10-6 or at least being a playoff contender. That's very possible. And that's kind of my fear. But are they going to beat the Chiefs? Heck no. Heck no. They're not going to beat the Chiefs. This is not happening. I'm not concerned about the Broncos facing the Chiefs. It's just the overall look in the division. Broncos could sneak up. Chances are I may not be right about this. And you know what? I hope I'm wrong, personally, because I want the Broncos to do bad personally. Nothing against Broncos fans. I'm sorry. You know, I'm here in Kansas City. I gotta stick with my roots here. You know. And yeah, it's fun when both the Broncos and Chiefs are competitive and they're contending. But it's also fun when the Chiefs are the king of the AFC West. It's also fun when that happens, and they have been now for 3 straight years, which before this year had never happened before. So again, John Elway trading for Joe Flacco. We'll see what happens. But don't be surprised if the Broncos can get back to that type of defensive play. I'm not saying they'll be right there like number one, but you know what? If they're like top 10, and that offense can be, top 15, 20-ish, something like that, if they do just enough, and that defense gets back to what they were, Broncos could be a scary team. We'll see what happens, but you know what? This trade could backfire on John Elway. It's very possible. And Joe Flacco is old. He's 34. He's past his prime. And he's been horrible. It's the reason why Baltimore got rid of him, because they liked Lamar Jackson. He's young. He can run. He's got an arm. Joe Flacco is past his prime. But you know what? Sometimes a new fresh start can be good for a player. We'll see what happens. I do like the comparison that Kevin Keatsman made for John Elway, comparing him to Carl Pearson. Because you remember when Carl Pearson got Joe Montana, how great that was? But then what happened after that? Steve Bono. How did that turn out? Not very great. Elvis Gerback. We all remember the whole controversy with him and Rich Gannon. Which I'll still say to this day that I would love to meet Rich Gannon and just say, you have been 3,000 times better than Elvis Gerback, because Gerback was a dud. He sucked. Carl Pearson, really from 1995, and I know the Chiefs were 13-3 that year, and they made the playoffs. And they made the playoffs in 97. They were number one seed and everything, blah, 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 blah. But really from 1995 to 06, he didn't try. He didn't try. He just would get that veteran quarterback, and nothing against Trent Green. I'm leaving Trent Green out of this because Trent Green was actually really good. But outside of that, like, he'd get that veteran quarterback, and it would just go, oh, we're just going to build a defense, and we'll get a veteran quarterback. Well, how did that all turn out? It was horrible. It was horrible. The Chiefs were never the same. Like, you have to understand that you have to draft a quarterback, and John Elway, of course, has been horrible at that. You know, drafting Paxton Lynch, how'd that turn out? Not very good. But John Elway could be on the verge of being that next Carl Pearson. I had to agree with that. That was a great comparison. I was actually laughing the other day when Kevin Keatsman made that great comparison. I don't think that's not bad. I think comparing him to Carl Pearson is actually accurate. Because Carl Pearson, again, from 95 to 06, didn't try. I mean, yeah, he did better than Scott Pioli. Well, anybody would do better than Scott Pioli. But, I mean, seriously. John Elway, this move is going to define his tenure, I think, as the football operations leader. I think he's the GM as well. Is he the GM of the Broncos? I think he is too, yeah. I'll have to get on that and find that out. But, no, this will define John Elway's tenure in the front office. I mean, everybody's still going to love him in Denver as what he did as a player. But, man, as a front office dude, I mean, you got to be right now scratching your head saying, what is this guy doing? He did what? I mean, you have to be scratching your head as a Broncos fan. I mean, they made some fine moves on defense, drafting some players on defense, but offensively, that tackle they took, Broyles, he hasn't been anything. Yeah, Philip Lindsay is a nice story. Local kid from Colorado, playing for his hometown Broncos. Undrafted. But outside of that, not very good for John Elway, and this could define his tenure as in the front office for the Denver Broncos. We'll see. But once again, the Broncos trade for Joe Flacco this week, age 34 quarterback. We'll see how it works out. But, again, it could backfire. It could. But you can't speculate, and you can't really say this or this or this or this until you see the results, until you watch the games and watch the dude throw a ball. And maybe Joe Flacco just needed a new start, a fresh start maybe. I mean, it's possible. Anything's possible. So, but let's take the last break on this Saturday morning. When we come right back, we'll wrap it all up talking about Kyler Murray. Did he make the right choice of pursuing a career into the NFL over Major League Baseball? Much more of Radioactive Sports coming your way as we'll come back. We'll wrap it up for another Saturday morning right here on ESPN Kansas City. Do not go anywhere. I'm Justin Parrington. Much more coming your way right after this on 1510 AM and 94.5 FM.
Radioactive Sports with Justin Pemberton.
Why do you think we experienced that a couple weeks ago at 810 Zone?
Yeah.
That Jim could not attend to, by the way.
I know. I'm sorry. I had to work.
I know. I'm just...
Gotta make that paper, homie.
That's right. You gotta sell that merchandise.
Exactly. Guys could have visited.
I know. Well, didn't I know Steve and Brody, they went there.
Yeah.
You rejected them.
I rejected them.
I'm going home.
No.
I had to go home, too. I know. I did
you guys. I'm going
Let's get radioactive. More Radioactive Sports with Justin Pemberton after this on ESPN Kansas City. You're listening to Radioactive Sports with Justin Pemberton.
I don't have 15 podcasts, by the way, Jim. I know I do post.
I'm sorry, 13.
I'm sorry, 10.
Yeah.
It's got more than 10.
Oh, that's right.
Are we counting YouTube?
Might as well.
YouTube, Twitter, Facebook,
SoundCloud.
I mean, good Lord, man. You slide into my DMs more than anybody I know. I appreciate it, though. I love the attention.
And that's the whole point why I do
exactly.
More attention.
I think I'm here every 2 weeks.
On ESPN Kansas City.
That's right. You can count YouTube as a source for my show now. As once again, yes, Radioactive Sports is now on YouTube, and it's also on iTunes. Check that out. That is official. I checked that myself yesterday. Made sure that was possible. That was a reality. That Radioactive Sports is now officially on iTunes. But welcome back to the show, and I'm Justin Parrington. We're getting ready to wrap this all up for another Saturday morning, talking about Kyler Murray, the former standout quarterback at the University of Oklahoma. Of course, he won the Heisman Trophy. Talking about if he made the right decision of pursuing a career into the NFL over Major League Baseball. And I have to say, no, he did not. I made a fan poll question on Twitter, and 50% of you said yes. I can understand. There is a part of me that actually says he did, because the track record of Billy Beane, the GM of the A's, is horrible. I mean, I know he gets his teams into the playoffs every now and then, or he blows it up. But who wants to play for that guy? Honestly. Billy Beane, I mean, are you kidding me? Moneyball is one of the worst things that ever happened. I love the movie, don't get me wrong. With Brad Pitt, yes. The movie's awesome, but that doesn't mean squat. The strategy was horrible. Billy Beane is one of the worst GMs in America in sports. So who wants to play for the guy? So Kyler Murray, from that standpoint, turning down sort of a minor league kind of contract with the A's, it's good. But I think he would remain healthier playing baseball. I think he'd be better off. This could be like Bo Jackson, possibly. Because I think we all know if Bo Jackson would have stuck to baseball with the Royals, he would have been a Hall of Famer. He would have been a Hall of Famer, hands down. Instead of playing for the Rays. Or possibly the Buccaneers if he would have shined up to playing for Tampa Bay, but he told him to shove it. We were watching that 30 for 30 on Bo Jackson. That was awesome. That's one of the best documentaries of all time, watching that 30 for 30 on ESPN of Bo Jackson. Bo knows. He does know. No, Kyler Murray, I think he made the wrong decision. I think he's got a better chance of remaining healthy if he plays baseball. Football is just so violent. I mean, and I have experience of playing football. No, I didn't play at the collegiate level. But you know what? Playing in high school, it was rough. It was tough. You get hurt. I got hurt. I tore my ACL. Not every day when you play football, you just walk out and say, oh, I'm healthy. Oh, I walked out with not getting hurt. That's impossible. Kyler Murray is going to experience a whole different animal. The NFL compared to college is not nice. I mean, if you're not ready for it, they will chew you up and spit you out. It is a whole different animal. The NFL is not going to be kind to Kyler Murray. We'll see what happens. And you know what? These quarterbacks with this type of ability to run the ball, spread offense, triple option. Now, the NFL is adapting to some of that, but not every quarterback like that is going to succeed. Example, RG3, or Robert Griffin III, to be exact. In case for those who don't know what I mean by RG3. Robert Griffin III coming out of Baylor, Heisman winner, mobile quarterback that can run and this and that, bust. And, of course, it really depends on what system you are in and who's the coach and who's around you. And RG3 in Washington was a joke because of who was around him. Mike Shanahan was past his prime. The Skins are a joke of a franchise, first of all. It all starts with that owner who now has an IMAX theater at his yacht. Dan Snyder, who doesn't give a crap, first of all. It starts there. But RG3 was an absolute bust because of what was around him. The system he was in was terrible. So it depends on what system that you fall into. Example, Patrick Mahomes. Look how that's turned out with Andy Reid. It's the best in America. And Mahomes and Reid is the best quarterback-coach friendship now in the NFL. I mean, we can say what you want about Belichick and Brady, but it was a match made in heaven between Reid and Mahomes. Not the same with Shanahan and RG3. It's going to depend on where Murray falls. But I'm telling you right now, this is a bad decision for Kyler Murray. Get that money in baseball. Go get that contract. And start pursuing a career. And this is a bad look for baseball, too. Not to mention, this is a bad look for baseball because this could be another once-in-a-generation type of athlete playing baseball in Kyler Murray. He can run. He can throw. Imagine the fastball he can throw. Imagine him stealing, 40, 50 stolen bases a year or something like that? I mean, this is a complete miss on Kyler Murray. This is a complete miss. Or this is a complete miss on Major League Baseball. This is a big hit. But I think Murray overall made the wrong decision. But that's going to conclude our Saturday morning of Radioactive Sports here on ESPN Kansas City, as we're just about out of time here for another Saturday morning. Thanks for tuning in on Facebook Live. Adios on there. Otherwise, that's going to do it. Thanks for tuning in on 1510 AM, 94.5 FM. I am Justin Parrington, much more next Saturday for another show. Same time as always from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. stay warm and be careful out there in the snow. Otherwise, that's going to do it. See you again next week. This has been Radio Active Sports on ESPN Kansas City. Later.
Keep up to date with Radioactive Sports by following Justin on Twitter at JPSports1510 and on Facebook by searching Justin Pemberton. Plus, search for the Radioactive Sports Facebook page. You've been listening to Radioactive Sports with Justin Pemberton.
No, it's the Guns N' Roses, yeah.
Yes.
I've got actually pulled up here, you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Let's relive it.
I love how you say you guys. It's Curtis.
Oh, you were in there too. You're like,
Yeah.
we got everything you want.
He was singing backup.
Yeah, I was there.
Welcome to tanking. Welcome. I will accept no anger or venom from anybody who is pro-tanking. It's game on.
Welcome to the tanking. We're going to lose some games.
We got all the losses
got
you
everything
want.
you want. From broken bullpens and no offense.
We got a bullpen, can't get anyone out. We don't know the names.
Shakes my head.
Oh, man. That's like, you got a bullpen that can't get anyone out. We don't know their names.
On ESPN Kansas City, 1510 AM, 94.5 FM, and 1510.com.
Bye-bye.
ESPN Kansas City is KCTE Independence and K233DM Raytown. 1510 AM, 94.5 FM.